Hi guys, it's Steph from IDRIVEACLASSIC. Now today's video is just a short one, but I had to show you this amazing Humber Super Snipe Series 2. Now this car's quite special to me because it's my boyfriend's car, and for some God unknown reason it's his favourite car and he's letting me drive it. So it feels like quite a privilege to drive this one, and it's quite special. So this came out in, well, this particular car is from 1959. It's a totally different era of motoring for many of us to what we're used to now, and it was when, it was when that motoring really had that post-war optimism. Lots of nice things were still going on. Buying a car was still an occasion, and you can really see it in this one. So I'm really excited to do this video with you. It's something that specifically, despite them not being made for very long, it's something that loads of you have asked for, so I'm really excited to show you today. Now the video is going to take the usual format that we do, so we're going to have a look around the outside, we're going to look under the bonnet, we're going to talk through the dash, but as well as that we're going to have a look at the back of the car because there's something I cannot wait to show you. And then we're going to take the car up for a drive, and we're also going to have a chat with Josh, my boyfriend, and find out exactly why he's got this, because he really is a man of well, he's got a bit of a pick and mix collection. I mean, he's got an Austin Allegro as well. So what is it about this Super Snipe that has kept Josh spending money on it, purchasing it in the first place? We're going to find all that out today. So I really hope you enjoy this video, and I hope wherever you are in the world, if we're still on lockdown or we're still in this really weird corona crisis, I hope that you're okay. So let's start off by having a look around the outside of the car. The 50s and 60s are my favourite eras for cars, so to take you guys out in a Humber Super Snipe Series 2 from 1959 is a real pleasure. Before we go for a little drive, let's talk all things Humber Super Snipe. Humber was founded by Thomas Humber all the way back in 1887 in Coventry, England, and first produced bicycles before moving into the fast-growing, more lucrative automotive sector in 1896, with the cycle division of the business being sold to Raleigh in 1932. The name Snipe first appeared in the Humber range in 1929 with the strapline, "Such cars as even Humber never built before." But the Snipe we see before us today is sometimes referred to, and especially at launch, as the new Super Snipe or the new Snipe, and was introduced in 1958, and it was launched to replace the Mark IV car, which was dropped in 1956, which meant the Snipe name and Super Snipe name weren't used by Humber for kind of 2 to 3 years. 1957 saw the introduction of the new Humber Hawk, designated Series Hawk, which was named in such a way as to distinguish itself from the previous Mark Hawks. Confusing, I know. Then a year later, in 1958, the Super Snipe Series 1 was introduced, using the same new Hawk body shell. Initially, this was available with a 2.6 litre engine, which was developed by Armstrong Siddeley, especially for Humber, using hemispherical combustion chambers, which was pretty exciting because it was an all-new design. And then a year later, in 1959, the Super Snipe Series 2 was launched, which is the car we're testing here today. Although appearing only a year after the launch of the Series 1, the car boasted a number of improvements from the initial Series 1 design, which included the Girling front brakes to replace the drums, which had been present on the Series 1, and the engine capacity was enlarged from a 2.6 litre to 3 litre, which were the two key selling points, although Ian from Hubnut probably would have been sold on the fact that they didn't just do that, they changed the wiper arrangement too on the Series 2 model. I'm sure he'd love that. So for those of you that like choice, note that the 3 litre engine option was your only option, although you got a little more choice on your transmission, but more on that later. There are other tweaks too, such as the new Zenith carburettor, a new 8-bladed fan to help with improved engine cooling, and a stiffer anti-roll bar fitted to the front suspension. With the car being such a special and exclusive car, it will come as no surprise to you guys at home to know that this car was available as either a saloon, which is what you see here today, or a partition limousine with a glass division, which was introduced for owners looking to be chauffeured in their vehicles. In your standard option, you were offered a 3-speed gearbox with synchro on all forward speeds, the gear change of course being column change, as you'll be able to see, which allowed for the bench seat, although there was an automatic option also available. Optional extras
including the automatic option, included an overdrive, which was available on second and top gear, and power steering. The car you see here today is a basic model. There are no optional extras fitted at all, but as you'll see when we go for a drive, it's more than enough for this fantastic car. And in fact, when tested by Motor Magazine, the Humber Super Snipe Series 2 had a top speed of 94.7 miles per hour and accelerated from 0 to 60 in 16.5 seconds and achieved fuel consumption of 24.6 litres. I've been reliably informed by Josh this car is running to a similar fuel efficiency. It's also worth noting that unlike the car we have here today, the test drive that the magazine used did have overdrive and power steering. Now, the Series 2 was only available for 1 year before it was replaced by the Series 3 in 1960, which again boasted more upgrades, including quad headlamps. But hopefully we'll be able to get a Series 3 to test and I'll be able to show that in more detail. Now, with only 1 year of production for the Series 2 and the car not being an everyday cheap option, production was very limited and never even reached 5 figures, which makes it all the more special for it to be here today. For reference on how much this car would have cost in today's money, this car at the time in its most basic option, as per our test car, would have cost £1,453, which in line with inflation today would be around £34,000. Now, that doesn't sound much, so I wanted to give you a bit of perspective. For perspective, the average house price in 1959 was £2,500, which really gives that a bit of an overview on how expensive this was. Now, before we get inside this car, I just wanted to have a chat with Josh and find out a little bit about why he bought the car, and it's quite sweet actually, the story, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, this is a bit of a brief video because we're going to be seeing more of this car as hopefully we get towards the end of the summer and lockdown lifts, and I just wanted to do a bit of a briefer introduction in this video, show you this car, and hopefully help you fall in love with it as much as I do. Now, I know I always love the cars I drive, I can't help it. I just tend to end up picking the cars that I love the most. Now, let's go and grab Josh and have a little chat with him. Now, I remember we were discussing this car last night and you said it was a man's car.
I did, yes.
Right, why is it a man's car?
Because of its size and shape, it would have been a government official car, bank manager's car, very middle class, very luxurious, and often chauffeur driven as well.
Really?
Yes, because you could buy a limousine version with a glass dividing partition inside it.
I bet you'd love to do that to me so you could stop me talking.
Well, I do prefer...
You didn't deny it!
I just...
You'd have the partition here.
I just turn the radio up.
Stop it! Well, the radio doesn't go that loud in the Allegro, gutted. Right, so let's get back to the point.
Yes.
Why did you buy this car?
I bought this car because I've always had an affinity for the big Humbers. They're a lovely car. What started me off is when I was a child, my uncle had the Dinky Toys Humber Hawk police car, and I just fell in love from an early age. I fell in love with just the shape and size of the cars. These big, huge cars, which are such a nice blend of American and British style. Because they were based on, if you look at the 55 Chevrolets, they took a lot of styling cues from the Chevys of the time. Apparently there was one parked outside the styling studio. So things like the wraparound screens, even the doors, they're all very, very similar. But what I also like is they're very stylish cars without being showy and ostentatious.
Yeah.
They're very refined, very dignified car, which appeals to me. And they also have a lot of horses under the hood, a lot of power in the engines, and they're just so smooth. And you don't get wood veneer, walnut dashboards or picnic tables in an American car.
No.
Much as I like American cars, they just don't do quality like the British.
Right, there is definitely someone watching this video that's going to lynch you. No, I'm joking.
Hey, well, you can't doubt my credentials. No, we went to see a Packard 400 hardtop because I've always liked, again, quality cars, Packard.
Yeah.
I've always liked them. One day I will have one, and 50 Cadillacs as well. one day.
Right, so my final question for you is, I know that you've got an Allegro. Now, when I first met you, you weren't forthcoming about this. You told me all about your Allegro. So my question to you is you could keep one car. Would it be your Allegro or would it be this?
Well, the Allegro is certainly the best car because they're so reliable, they're so cheap to run. You can get in them, they've got everything you need for motoring in the modern world, and they're just so damn good cars, Allegros, whereas the older cars, there's nothing wrong with them, but they are a bit more maintenance intensive.
I love that. I bet loads of people watching this are like, yeah, an Allegro is an old car, but it's your modern car.
Oh yeah. Oh, I am, yeah.
So stupid. Yeah. Right, we're done. Are you going to hand the keys over to me so I can drive the car?
Yes,
okay.
Yes I am. I will hand you the keys on the...
Oh look, get a ceremonious key, look.
Show them the key ring, because it took me a while to find that.
Is that original?
It is an original key ring, yeah.
It's really good quality. Right, come on, end the video and we'll go and test the car.
Right, okie dokie.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Now come on in, I want to show you something amazing because usually I only show you the front of the car and talk you through the dash, but this car is so magnificent I had to show you what's going on in the back of the car too. So come on in, I want to show you something. We've got, I've been corrected, it's not a cigarette lighter, it's a cigar lighter. Over here we've got an ashtray, not just one but you've got two, so if two of you are chain smokers you're not going to run out of space in that ashtray. Now this is where it starts getting really snazzy. Watch this. So we need to use the handle because I'm super scared that I'm going to break this. So we pull it out like this and we push it down like this, oh so gently, and we've even got a little table to eat our sandwiches off whilst having a cigarette. So fantastic. Now we'll put that away. I'm always super cautious of these things when they're a little bit older. You've got your little handles here, and honestly I've sat on sofas that aren't as comfortable as this. These seats are incredible. So I'm going to show you the doors as well because honestly the manufacturing, the engineering in this car is like nothing else I have ever tested. Now, as promised, I wanted to show the doors because usually on older cars people think you have to slam them, and I'll be honest, the first time I got in this car I had a little slam of the door and I thought my head was going to be slammed in the door afterwards because Josh was so cross. So let me show you, because he said to me, look at this, and I'm going to have to show you guys too. So usually when you have to shut the door on a classic car, you really have to give it a good old push, but with this, one finger does the trick. I mean, how great is that? Now you might think that's because the door is warm, but let me show you with this one as well. This is the passenger rear. Now these doors haven't been adjusted at all. So I'm going to show you again. It's quality from the minute you get hold of that door handle. Now I'm going to be able to like lean over, show you all the bits today, and also I'm not going to be wearing a seatbelt today because there aren't any in the car. So if you don't see me belt up, don't panic. So first of all, we're going to start over here. We've got the glove box. Now I know some of you guys like some interesting facts. So this one, the fact for you today is that this key, the key for this is the same key as the boot. So a little bit like when we took the Rolls Royce out and we found out that it was a different key on the ignition to the glove box, it's the same in this car as well. And it was for a bygone era when you would give your car to somebody like valet parking or an attendant. You meant you could leave your valuables in the glove box or whatever you wanted in the boot, and you wouldn't have to worry about it getting pinched. But here's the best bit. Come and have a look at this. So I don't know if you'll be able to see because it's quite bright and sunny today, but we've got a little light in here, and we have also got, and you guys know how much I love stuff like this, we've got the owner's handbook. So inside all of here you've just got all the information. So that's everything right from how to use your bonnet and hood, your carburetor, your clutch, all of this is contained inside, and it just gives you some advice. We've even got advice for touring abroad. So Roots had a continental touring scheme, told you how to prepare your car, the touring parts kit. Again, these were things that could be prepared by dealers, and it basically just tells you about your first free service and stuff. So just an interesting snapshot into the history of this car, and a little bit about what you got with it really. Now as you probably would expect of a car of this quality, it's been really well made and everything has been thought about. So there's a couple of modifications which I'll talk to you as we go around. But over here we've got your air controls. We've got a clock which works because Josh took it apart and fixed it, which is really nice because there's some real value, I think, in fixing the things that are already on the car as opposed to going out and modifying it or leaving it broken. So that's a nice touch. We've got the lights over here. You've got your temperature over here. Now this would have been an ashtray, but at the moment obviously it's just some space. We've got a cassette player. I'm trying to force one of my Bananarama cassettes on Josh, but he hasn't accepted it yet. I cannot imagine for the life of me why. And over here we've got our speedo. Now as you can see, that goes up to 120 miles an hour, but we have got a 3-litre engine under the bonnet, so I'm not really surprised. Now we've got your fuel gauge over here, and you've got it in litres and gallons there, and then of course you've got your water, you've got your amp, and you've got your oil over there. We've got a screen washer over here. We've got the wipers, so Josh is going to help me by leaning in. We've got the wipers down here, which you probably saw when we were having a look, and you've got your panel lights over here. And then this is a modification, so I'll just show you that. So that's just a head, basically, so you can flash your headlights at people. And then we are, I think, well, you're probably wondering where the gear stick is, but just like when we took the Zephyr out, we are on column change, so I cannot wait to show you that. So before we start the car up, let me show you the column change. Now this is a 3-speed box, and then reverse as well. So I'm going to show you how it works. So we've got it all on column change. Also, I'm definitely too short to drive this car because I am edged right forward on the seat. I should have brought a pillow with me. Anyway, so we get it in our hand like this, and we put our foot down on the clutch as you would normally. You pull it forward towards you, so it's spring loaded, so it always returns there to neutral, as you can see. Now we can pull it forward. We come down, that's into first. We come back up, push it away from us, we go into second, down into third, and then you come across like this. Now this is super important. You should not do this when you're driving because this can really knacker the gearbox. We're going to go up into reverse. So remember, we went away from us for second. Now we come back, we pull it in towards us, and we go up, and that takes us into reverse. So I'm going to have to be really cautious when I'm driving and just make sure that I'm super concentrated to make sure that I don't mess that up and I stick into first, second and third. So we've done that. So why don't we start the car up and have a listen to how she sounds. Now I've been given very specific instructions to get this car started. Also, I've managed to move the seat forward. There was a little chrome lever underneath, which Josh for some reason did not tell me about. However, I can now reach the pedals and I don't feel like a child driving Dad's car, which is a blessing. And I feel like I can review it with more confidence now. Now, I've been told we've got to press the pedal a quarter of the way down. And we turn the key. That sounds absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to just wind down the window. Have a listen to this. That sounds absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to ask Josh to bring the camera back round because I just want to show you the horn. I'm definitely going to end up with an ASBO revving my engine and bashing a horn. I'm going to be in trouble. Right, so we're going to press it down. This only works when the ignition is on, so have a listen. That sounds incredible. Right, it's time that we go out on a little journey in this car and we find out what she's really like to drive.
And just for those of you that like a different perspective, this is what it sounds like when the engine is running under the bonnet. And I'm going to show it from the back too. And here's an exhaust note for those of you that like that sort of thing.
So, this is a bit of a different one to drive. It's really, really smooth. It's like, I feel like every car of this era is just so nice to drive because this is that golden age of motoring where cars were built with quality in mind. They weren't just thrown together. There's no bits of broken, brittle plastic laying about. It feels like, in inverted commas, a proper car. And the column change has been so easy to master as well. Like, I don't know if that's because I've been out column change before, or because, you know, it's I don't know, because I'm just used to driving old cars, but it's very straightforward. I'd put it on par with the Zephyr in terms of changing that gear. Now, what is it like to drive in terms of how does it fare up for pleasure? Well, the first thing that I noticed when I was pulling out of the junction is that it stopped very quickly, and that's because it's got disc brakes on the front, which was an introduction. So the car that came before it, the Series 1, had your normal drum brakes, whereas by the time they got onto this, they went onto the disc brakes. Now, something that I always find really interesting about Roots Group cars is that it always feels like they've got like Series 1, Series 2, Series 7, and, you know, mark this, mark that, and they always have all these different cars. But the reason they did it was because they were really big on the evolution of both the model, the cars, and they were well into their technology. So cars like this, I mean, the Series 2, I think they did for a year, and then they moved on to the Series 3. But the whole point was that they wouldn't rest on their laurels. They would just crack on and start making the next one, start improving it. They didn't expect customers to put up with substandard technology or substandard finish. Everything on this car just, it's beautiful. I mean, the handling is very responsive. As we come around this corner, I've driven cars from like the 80s and the 90s that don't handle as well as this. But now I know that one of the things that will get levied at me is a little bit like when we took the Rolls Royce out. This isn't an everyman's car in terms of something like the Morris Minor, which, you know, could have been bought by really somebody who was, you know, I mean, kind of everybody at this point in the mid to late 50s. If you were buying a car, you know, you probably weren't poor. You would have been middle class. But this car wasn't really aimed at your middle class everyday buyer. It was aimed at somebody with a little bit more money. So you had people like government ministers driving them, and in fact, I do believe the Super Snipe, this one in particular, they were used by the government and government ministers. So it's quite nice to take one out, actually, because cars like this, they weren't massively produced and they aren't massively available now, and that's for a few reasons. So number one is that the price, first and foremost, they weren't a cheap car to buy, and number two, because they weren't a cheap car to buy, they weren't a cheap car to run either. And it meant that as time went on, so, you know, through into the 70s and the 80s, when old cars weren't treasured as much as they were now, they were just old cars, and the classic car scene of that time was pre-war. It was very different to how it is now. Cars like this kind of just fell in between the cracks, really, and it's a little bit like some of the older Jags that you don't see so often. These were expensive cars to run. It's a thirsty car. It's not the most fuel efficient, but who cares when you're driving around in a absolute opulent luxury? Who really cares at all? And you know, the parts aren't as easy to find as you might want. So quite often people would say, well, it's a bit rusty, it's expensive to run, it's expensive to repair, and quite frankly, for the same price I can get something better. So they'd often end up at scrap yards. But thank goodness, this, like many other cars of the 50s, 60s and 70s, has really turned the tide. So something in this condition would set you back the best part of £10,000. Obviously, prices for things like this, because they're not, you know, they're not a huge cold car, things like the Minis and, you know, your Beetles and stuff, prices do tend to flex slightly, but they aren't totally out money. Look at this, I've got a big badge on the front. This car is very understated and I absolutely adore it. Now I feel like I've chatted on to you guys, but driving this car has been such a pleasure, and I doubt because of the connection that it'll be the last time we see it. And in fact, once all this coronavirus nonsense is over, because it does feel like the world's going a bit mad, and I totally understand why, and it's a massive health crisis, but my God, what a bad time of the year for it to come, eh? Anyway, once coronavirus is been and gone and we've got all that sorted out, we're going to be doing a lot more adventuring in this. We're going to show you some of the stuff on it. So although this video is quite short today, I wanted to kind of show you the car before we go into lockdown and give you a bit of a taste of what's to come, and we'll show you some of the stuff that we're doing on the car as hopefully as summer progresses into autumn and stuff. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to drive. Thank you very much, Josh, for letting me drive it, because I never thought you were going to hand over the keys. Oh, what a lovely car, and it's been so nice to take you guys out. This is probably one of the last videos I'll get to do before we go into lockdown. But fear not, I've got other stuff in the vault that I can drag out to show you before we run out of material. So wherever you are in the world, it's a very strange time at the moment. So I hope you're taking care. I hope you're safe, and I hope to see you on the other side, because as long as we all bandy together, we should be absolutely fine, and we've definitely got this. So until next time, wherever you are in the world, take care and drive safely.